Hello guys, Gaming Dad 56 here, and I'm going to show you a little comparison video today. Um, Recently released, actual full release version was the More Realistic mod. The More Realistic mod was one of my favorite mods for FS 2013. And if you've seen my More Realistic introduction video, you will have seen how to download it, and I've talked about the fact that it's one of my favorites. Um, the reason it's one of my favorites is a completely game-changing mod. It redoes the entire physics engine. So here today I'm going to show you one of the examples of how this works. I've already shown you, if you've seen my other video about harvesting with the More Realistic mod, how harvesting changes. However, today I'm going to show you how plowing is different with the More Realistic mod. So right now what I have is the vanilla game. No mods, nothing like that. And I'm going to show you what I've purchased. What we're going to do is see how these handle in the vanilla game, and then we're going to flip over to the More Realistic mod and see how the exact same setups handle in the More Realistic mod. So what I have today is a Fendt Vario 313, okay, 140 horsepower, about 138, and a Varimaster 153 plow, which requires 120 horsepower. So in theory, the Fendt should be able to pull this plow no problem. I also have the Limken Titan 11 plow, which requires 240 horsepower. Now in theory, the Fendt should not be able to pull this plow well because it requires 100 more horsepower than the Fendt has available to it. So we're going to see what happens with vanilla game physics. And then finally, I've got the Challenger MT845, 400, almost 500 horsepower. It should be able to pull pretty much any of these plows with no issues. So let's go ahead and hop in the 313, and you can see it is a 313. You can see there on the side. And let's hook up to the big plow first, because this is where the More Realistic mod should really shine. This is where you should see a large difference. In the More Realistic mod, you should not be able to pull this plow at any real significant speeds with this tractor. Alright, so let's head to the field. Unfold the plow. And we'll see how this goes with vanilla physics. So dropping the plow in. And there we go. So note that even with the tractor that has 100 less horsepower than is recommended for this, we're still pulling the plow at 4 to 5 miles per hour. So that's a pretty good plowing speed with a tractor that's 100 horsepower less than the recommended. Okay, here we are guys with the More Realistic mod now. We're going to take the same Fendt 313 and we're going to hook it up to the Limken plow. And we're going to go out to a field and give that a try. Alright, here we go. There's not a huge problem in pulling it, but you'll notice that there is a slight problem in turning while trying to accelerate. My front wheels still are not sticking to the ground very well, and my turning is slow and it's kind of sluggish as I almost run into a tree. So let's see what this looks like with the More Realistic mod. You can probably guess pretty much what's going to happen. Drop it into the ground and we start to go. I have the pedal to the metal right now, as you can see by my fuel usage numbers. And we are chugging along at a blistering 2 miles per hour. So really not going anywhere. Although it can pull it, this is gonna accomplish next to nothing. We're also on an extremely flat field. Maybe, yeah, pretty flat. If we had any kind of a hill here, my guess is we probably would not even move. So that's the Fendt 313 with the Limken plow. Alright, now we have the Challenger MT845. This thing has 492 horsepower and it's pulling the Limken plow, which requires 240. So this should be no problem. And in the base game, indeed, you're going to see it is no problem. We're pulling around 9 miles per hour with this plow. Either way, vanilla game, more realistic, this should not be a problem because we have double the horsepower that's required for this plow. Okay, now we have the same Challenger 845. I'll zoom in so you can see it there, with the Limken plow, and we're going to drop this guy into the ground and see how he does. And here we go, more realistic. We're cruising along 8 miles per hour, just plowing up the field nicely, no struggles whatsoever. So there's your difference between the base game and the more realistic mod when it comes to large plows being pulled by tractors, whether they're undersized or not. You now need to make sure you have a plow, or a tractor, I'm sorry, that has the horsepower to be able to pull your plow. So we've seen how the plows react based on horsepower requirements and the horsepower requirements of the plows and what the tractors actually have. Now let's take a look at picking up a plow. So this is actually the 313 with the Varimaster 153 plow. According to the horsepower requirements and everything like that, the Fendt should have no problem pulling this plow. And with the vanilla game, if I hook up to the plow, we pick it up, no problem. If we take it out to the field, we should be able to plow without any real issues. Now I want to stress this: no front weight. That's a big deal, because when we get to the more realistic mod, you're going to see how that changes. And just to prove that there's no real issue, even in the vanilla game here, we can see the Fendt's cruising along at 9 miles per hour with the correct plow. Now, I will say, that's an improvement over previous farming simulator games. Before, even this little tiny tractor with 140 horsepower would have been able to pull that plow, which requires 240 at normal speeds. As you can see, plows with tractors properly matched were able to go about 9 miles per hour. But when we had the Fendt, even in the vanilla game, hooked up on that Limken plow, it wasn't going 9 miles per hour. It was around 5. But we also saw how, with the more realistic mod, the Fendt 313 and the Limken plow, that speed we were able to go dropped significantly, like 1 to 2 miles per hour, to the point where it's really not practical to plow with that setup, which is good because that setup is unrealistic anyway. So let's take a look at how even this correct setup with the 313 and the Varimaster 153 changes when we go to the more realistic mod. Okay, now on to the more realistic mod. You look at this Fendt 313 that we have, and I just want to show you guys here in the garage. So this has 138 horsepower. This Kuhn Varimaster requires 120 horsepower. So we should be good to do this. This Fendt should be able to handle it. So I have it set up here. We're going to hook up. When you go to mounted plows with more realistic, this is now the issue. You can no longer just be going and picking up heavy implements on the rear of the tractor without adding some sort of front weight to balance it out. So let's unhook that. Let's go hook up this front weight over here, and we'll try again. Okay, there we go, front weight. This is the Agco 1500, so 1500 kilogram front weight. It's pretty heavy. Now we pick this up, you notice no issue. We can drive around and carry this plow, and now we can go test. It still is a little hoppy, as in the front end is still wanting to come up off the ground a little bit as we bounce, but that happens. It's a heavy plow. So now we're going to get out here in the field and see if this Fendt truly can pull this as it's supposed to be able to. So here we go. And you'll notice we are pulling it quite nicely, 6 miles per hour through the field. So as long as we have the front weight on the front of the tractor to balance out the weight of the plow, this works as you would expect it to.